Hello, everybody. Welcome to Friday. We have a guest, Craig. Welcome.
Hey, Tom. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for stepping forward.
Yeah.
You emailed me and said you're participating in Inktober. What is Inktober?
Yeah. Inktober is it's an annual drawing event. It's just a challenge to uh, help you develop positive drawing habits and promote creativity and using good old-fashioned ink pens to draw instead of the digital stuff. And
Okay.
I started it back in 2020, 2021. And you get one word prompt. They give you a calendar for the month, one word prompt per day.
Okay.
And you just take that word and you draw whatever inspires you, whatever you think of, whatever you come up with.
Oh, so
Uh,
it's like part Advent calendar, part National Novel Writing Month,
there you
but
go.
for
There you go.
drawing. Yeah.
There you
What's your
go.
prompt today?
The prompt today is crown. Uh, October 1st, the prompt was mustache. Let me show you. And what
Oh,
I
yeah.
drew, well, if I can hold it up here,
Hey, that looks like
Sam Elliott.
Sam Elliott. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably a little
The
blurry.
the
I can't get
ultimate
the
mustache.
camera to, yeah, the ultimate mustache. And then yesterday's word was weave. So I drew a snake weaving
Ah, yeah.
through the
Nice. That's a good
grass.
snake.
And today's prompt is crown, the word crown. So what I've done, already done the pencil work ahead of time. It's going to be a frog on a lily pad with a crown. And he's all puckered up waiting for a
Oh,
kiss.
yeah. He's a
So that's
prince.
what I'm drawing. He could be a prince. You
Yeah.
don't know. You don't
Speaking of
know.
princes, Brett Rounsaville's here.
Oh, shucks. You're too kind.
What do you wear to Phillies hat? Wow, look at you.
Go
Look at
Phillies.
you and your Expos hat. I feel like I am not the one to be judged here.
Oh, I wasn't judging. I was just surprised.
Yeah, it's a long story, but obviously I'm still in mourning about the A's
Of
and
course.
happened
Yeah.
to go to a Phillies game like a month or so ago for like an event. And
Oh,
we got to
okay.
like hang out in the owner's box, and it was a great game. And I was like, you know what?
You know what?
Maybe
Yeah.
I'm a Phillies fan
You're
now.
being
There
treated
you
right
go.
by the Phillies. They're good this year too, so
Yeah,
that
yeah.
helps.
That's part
Craig,
of it.
meet
I'm
Brett.
a fair weather fan.
Brett.
Brett, meet
Yeah.
Craig.
Hey,
Uh,
Greg.
How you doing?
Great.
Craig wrote in and volunteered to come on the Hangout to participate in Inktober. He was just telling me, do you know Inktober?
Oh yeah,
Heard of
so
that?
well.
The drawing thing?
Like
So
I was I made an app once upon a time that was sort of like Inktober all year for photography. It was
oh, okay. There you go. There you go.
yeah.
Great. Yeah.
So today's word is crown, which is what we
Yeah.
were talking about when
Crown.
you arrived, which was perfect.
Oh cool.
Yeah. And I've got my idea sketched up and I'm gonna be inking it up and I'll cut to my pad, let people see how I'm going, how it's progressing. Sorry, it's at an angle. I can't get the camera in my face, it's gonna be over my shoulder a little bit. So, but I'll show it to people as I ink it up during the show today.
Fantastic.
That's so
Brushwood's
fun.
going to
It'd
be
be like
along here too.
watching paint dry, but we'll see.
But ink, so it dries faster.
Watching ink dry.
Yes.
What's the story behind the Expos hat? I mean, besides it being the best logo to ever come out of Major League
I mean,
Baseball.
yes, definitely that.
It's a great logo.
I'm trying to remember where I bought it, but I bought it their last season in Montreal when we knew they were leaving. I can't remember if it was just a store that sold hats, and I was like, "Ooh, I should grab an Expos hat," or if I might have been at like a Giants game, and they,
That's especially funny.
they had hats for other teams there. I kind of think it was that, but the thing that sticks out in my mind is I remember the next year I went to the Giants Nationals game, the first season of the Nationals, and wore the Expos hat. And got many like very positive, jolly, even sympathetic comments. And I was like, and I had to explain to a couple of people like, oh, I'm just wearing the hat. I'm not really like, I haven't been harmed personally by the move.
I've been following the Phillies like about the same way, I guess sort of ironically, about the same way I would follow the A's during down years. Like I think of it as like I would be equally entertained by the Phillies if they were just a random number generator with some stories attached to it.
Yeah,
like I'd
sure.
mostly just like look at box scores at the end of the day.
Right. Do you have any
But,
other connections to Philadelphia?
it's where Amtrekker started.
Okay.
So,
Okay,
sort
that's a
of.
big one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I felt like when I started Amtrekker, I knew it was going to be like an adventure around the United States. So I felt like the most poetic time and place to start the trip was 4th of July in Philadelphia.
Oh,
that,
yeah,
that was
right.
the day that Amtrekker started.
Okay.
So a
How
little bit
patriotic. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do. Philly's like a great town. It's a lot. It's a lot like, to my mind. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of people in Philly that would like punch me in the face for saying this, but I think it's a pleasant combination of Boston and New York.
Oh yeah, you'll get punched in the face for saying that for sure.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean, right?
Yeah.
Like it's you could try to save it by saying it's the best of both.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, it sort of is. It's got sort of the business and finance acumen of New York, but also you can trip over Betsy Ross's house on your way to a high-rise condo.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of that gritty, down to earth thing, which obviously New York City has in spades, but everyone thinks of Boston as being that sort of working man's culture kind of stuff that Philly has too.
Yeah, I'm probably going to be in Boston in a couple weeks too.
I've been to Boston a few times. I've only been to Philly. I've only been to a Denny's in Philly. We were driving back.
You flew into the Denny's?
Well, no, we were driving. We were interns in Washington, D.C., and we had driven up to the beach in New Jersey, I think, or something. The details are vague, but we had the bunch of us on the weekend had driven up there for some reason, and on our way back to Washington, D.C., we drove through Philadelphia and stopped at a Denny's.
Oh, funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's Boston is legit maybe my favorite American city, and I tell people all the time that I would move to Boston in a heartbeat if it were in California.
Yeah. Why is that?
I will never live there. But like, why do I like it?
Yeah. Why do you like Boston so much?
I think
not that there are plenty.
Part of it is sort of the American history of it all, especially growing up like in the mountains in California. Like I always joke that the closest thing to history where I live is the first sub-franchise McDonald's.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the structures are all about 50 years old and like made of studs. And then in Boston, like you see actual legit history everywhere. Like you just walk around and you're like, oh, that's an old awkward building. And then you realize, oh, it's an old awkward building I was forced to read about in 5th grade. Fascinating.
And something terribly significant happened there in the 1700s, likely. Yeah.
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 Like
I had
the
that.
Alamo.
Oh yeah.
Like, wow. Yeah.
I had that feeling in when I lived in DC and during that internship too, where there were just significant places everywhere you go. Not even as historical as Boston, right? Because DC was created later, but just like oh, that's the Watergate that I'm cutting through to get somewhere. Like stuff like that.
Yeah, just like living in California in general, or like being born and raised in California specifically. Any travel makes you realize just how new California is and how much of California is that new. Like even going to like Europe, like they have post offices that are older than the United States, or you go to Japan and they have like soy sauce companies that are older than the United States. It's wild.
I ate at a Solentong place in Seoul that is predates the United States, although it hasn't been in the same location. But
wow.
Yeah, it's the oldest continuous restaurant in South Korea. But yeah, there's places in Japan, places all over Europe exactly like that. This
like
pub has been
like
here since the 12th.
Nintendo is like the same age as the Civil War, more or less.
Right. Yeah. That's wild. Growing up around St. Louis was always the city we went to, and it has a lot of history. But it's just history no one else knows about.
Right. It's not like everything there is the first blank west of the Mississippi.
Yeah, it absolutely. Right. Yeah. And there's all this like, well, when the French first built this, when the French first did that, and that's all the same era as all the Boston stuff. Right.
Yeah.
But it's just like nobody really writes about it or studies it or anything unless you're taking that tour at Laclede's Landing in St. Louis. So. So the historicity of the East Coast definitely sticks out to me too. Speaking of history, here's a man who makes history with every step he does, Brian Brushwood.
Oh my goodness. I almost made my promise history when I showed up late.
No, you're fine. You're good.
Have we already begun, or where are we
yeah,
at?
yeah. This is a very casual hangout on Fridays. So we were streaming. Craig joined us first. Craig is doing Inktober. So he is drawing an ink drawing for today. The prompt is crown.
And I'm drawing
well, I'm going to do Inktober.
Okay.
And Brett Rounsaville, aka Amtrucker.
I may have spent a pleasant 30 minutes talking to him today.
Yeah.
I realized I originally called Brett just for the heads up on what the protocol was. He goes, "What about Brett Rounsaville made you think that calling Brett Rounsaville was a good idea?" And then I realized, oh wait, this is the only opportunity I'm going to have to talk to Brett without an audience. So we caught up on dad stuff for a bit.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Well, so one of the things that I thought we'd kick around is Sora has taken the world by storm. Let me see if Tech Meme is still
I'll allow it.
Barely.
Microsoft is testing ad-supported games, and Sora is the number 2. Stora.
Yeah, it's number 1 in the App Store, though.
Yeah, number 1 in the App Store is the number 2 story behind Microsoft putting ads. So it is still burning up the charts this week as far as the coverage. Users express surprise, delight, and disgust with viral Sora clips as some warn of IP theft and that cameos could lead to new kinds of misinformation. I have been very much of mixed feelings about all these stories about copyright problems, because while I am seeing all the SpongeBob and Star Trek and occasional Luke Skywalkers, I'm also seeing a lot of this. No, Tom, that content might violate the guardrails on third-party likenesses. No, that one. Spotify, but for gramophones. They told me, nope, may violate your content policy. No idea why. My wife and I performing our comeback on a Korean music show. Yeah, it could be suggestive or racy. I'm like, well, don't make it suggestive or racy. I didn't tell you to.
I don't want to say that I experienced an existential crisis, but I will say this. Leave it to the guy who did Scam School to take his 4 invites, give them to other people, and then immediately ask for 2 of them back. Because it occurred to me that I could have an account for @Schwood, but I could also have an account for @Monarogue and @Scam School.
Yeah.
And so I put on a fake mustache for the Monarogue one, and I added the cameo rule that he's always buff. And then I intend to fully put on a costume for Scam School and spike up my hair so that we could have the Gentleman Warrior and Scoundrel era.
Oh,
Brians
yeah, that's fantastic.
with each
Yeah.
other.
I've been enjoying your wife meeting Modern Rogue on a couple of those.
I guess she has a favorite.
Yeah.
But
Here's one. So you can remix in Sora. If people aren't aware, you can make a video, you can post it and share it with others. And if you see one you like, and it's allowed because you can say don't remix, but you can then take that and tweak the prompt so that it changes it somehow. Brian did a really funny one on a puppet explaining the concept of arbitrage, the economic concept of arbitrage. And I looked at it and I was like, it'd be funny if he was actually explaining Sabotage by the Beastie Boys.
oh, did you do that one?
No, that content may violate content policies. So then I changed it to, he's not singing it, he's just talking about it. No. He's not singing it or anything. You can't. Let me see if I can get the actual prompt here. I don't know if you can get to it anymore. You may not be able to. Then I said, except he's actually explaining the song Sabotage. I'm like, oh, maybe Beastie Boys is triggering the. Nope. Except he's actually explaining Sabotage, not the song. Nope. Except he's actually explaining Sabotage, lowercase s. That was a different violation of like, well, now you're trying to get people to harm themselves or harm others.
Oh my gosh.
And then I wrote, finally, I changed it to, except he's explaining the concept of Arbitron because I just gave up. And it did this, which is not a puppet. It's just a guy. And if you look, he's actually explaining arbitrage still, just using the word arbitrage.
Yeah, I think
That's
that's
funny.
I think that's partly because of the remix on there.
No, it is.
The moment that broke my brain, Tom, was I got the response, "This content may violate illegal or illicit activity."
Yeah.
Guess what the prompt was? At Schwood, at Scam School, at Monorogue, each reveal what they're known for.
Yep. I got this one, which is Ace Detect hosting Daily Tech News Show, telling you that there's a lot of misunderstanding around AI. That content may violate guardrails regarding third-party likenesses. I'm like, but that's me.
Yeah, but it has no way to know that. And
I know.
If that did work, that would be far too easy a workaround.
Sure. That is why. But in a perfect world, it would know. Oh, but there would be a way for me to verify and say, but I am Tom Merritt. And in fact, if I was a big enough entity and had a contact at OpenAI and I'm Comcast, I could probably get that done, right? The other one that I thought was funny is Hack5 Darren, Justin R. Young, and the rest of the Supreme Court of Podcasting passed sentence on Ace Detect. It was like, no, third-party likenesses. I changed it to lowercase Supreme Court of Podcasting, and then it did it.
That's great.
But yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with this. I've been doing a lot of iPhones throughout history. It's Genghis Khan introducing the iPhone.
I really dug you interrupting the mother of all tech demos.
Oh yeah, that was a fun one. That one I had to lowercase mother of all tech demos, by the way. It told me I couldn't do it at first. But then when I made it lowercase mother of all demos.
Maybe it just really is for Gen Z and it refuses to acknowledge uppercase letters. Maybe the problem is just that you
might be
writing too properly.
That might be it.
Too much punctuation, too many capital letters.
Yeah.
Trigger.
Well,
But
so here's my question for the panel is what is the comp? Is the comp Twitter or is the comp Bitmoji? By which I mean, like Twitter had a very limited, 140 characters. What's the point of it? Well, the point of it is that is liberating. If you must embrace brevity, if you must keep it dead simple, then you can talk a lot more and reveal sometimes too much about yourself. Likewise, it's almost as though the character limit is just 0. Like there was a moment last night, Tom, that both of us happened to be on Sora, and very clearly we were both just engaging in whimsy and watching stuff. Like there was this epic mech thing that eventually met its match, and it kind of fell off. It tried to be epic, but it didn't. So then we leaned into it, and it became puppeteering. And then somebody got out of the puppet, and then we followed them off to coffee and everything. Like that was strangely, despite being very surface level and objectively not about us, it felt as though you and I dreamed together in that moment. Like,
it was fun.
Shared vivid memory now.
No, exactly. And it was like, oh, what's Brian going to do next? Oh, he did that. Well, let me do this then. That's funny. And then, it was a little shared dreaming, shared storytelling. I think it's a little of both. The 10-second limit obviously is similar to the 140 character limit of old, right? It forces you to think in like, okay, I've got to get this story together in 10 seconds. But in this case, you're not composing it. You're instructing the tool to, so you're like, okay, I have to have a concept it can put together in 10 seconds, but it's also not making a point most of the time. Most of the stuff I see, if there is a point, it's ancillary. It's mostly like, what can I make this tool do? Can I make it have fun? Can I make it do something unexpected? Can I make it do something entertaining? Like, show the mech movie slowly descending into a lower and lower budget, which is what Brian and I did.
The take that had the most unexpected resonance for me, like I read and was like, oh, that's the feeling I'm feeling, was Jib Jab for Gen Z. I get a lot of got back in the day, a lot of joy out of Jib Jab, and yet it was never like, something that I went really deep on, and I started to have that same feeling with Sora. I mean, granted, I am like very much not the target market for Sora, so I it looks very fun. Also, I don't like when my phone makes noise. I like to read things.
Ah,
Well, and so counter to that, I actually am so hungry. I need to make more friends or have more friends on Sora so that my friends can think more thoughts, because Twitter seemed stupid from the outside. And then you got in and it seemed really stupid until you started seeing and making friends on there, in which case it seemed really, really rad. And I think that in my feed, I just want other people to think thoughts and to watch them iterate on them, and to see memes that come and go within a matter of minutes has been truly extraordinary. It feels, if nobody's ever experienced this, like a writer's room, like everyone's just riffing and plussing on each other's ideas.
Yeah, that's true. Like even with Twitter, like my aha moment for Twitter came well after I started using Twitter, and I had been using it as just like a tool to keep people informed while I was doing Amchecker that involved like less writing than doing a whole blog. And then one day I was just like tweeting, well, like stuck in the Denver airport again. Guess this is where I live now. And someone else, like a total stranger, wrote back and was like, hey, I live just outside of Denver. Do you want to just sleep on my couch? And that was magic as far as I was concerned.
yeah. Especially because you were known to be a person who slept on couches. They felt comfortable, you know, like, oh, I know enough about him that, you know, I'll offer. That's pretty great. I do think this is limited in its ability to exchange ideas in that manner on purpose, right? It's not meant to. This is meant for you to just, you know, come up with clips. And I wonder where it goes. I see a lot of people, even some folks who used to work at OpenAI, posting things where they're like, I don't know if OpenAI making a social media platform is a good idea. Social media platforms can descend into problems, and that's not really their core competency. I don't know if this becomes a social media platform. This has as much peach, pounce, and plurk about it as it does Twitter and Facebook, which is it'll be fun for a while, and then everybody will have reached the limit of like, okay, that was great, and move on. And I don't know that OpenAI cares. They're doing this to put the model through its paces and see what it can do as much as anybody else, I would assume.
Oh yeah, there's so much new data that comes out of people using the tool. Like that is an automatic win. They have already succeeded.
Well, and I can't, before I say the following, allow me to disclose that for all I know, I'm just under the dopamine spell of the novelty of it.
Yeah.
But let's consider for a brief moment that all of our language modalities is all located in one little chunk of the brain called Broca's area. So, and that's usually on one of your two hemispheres. Everything we've ever written or say has to go through Broca's area, but we exist in a lot of different ways, you know, as visual, kinesthetic, you know, motion, timing, all of these different communication vectors. They don't often show up in a social media. I guess, you know, your physical body does things on TikTok and so on. But in this case, they're in terms of, and it's going to be very hard to put this into words, but the vibe I'm wondering, that sense of a shared dream, it's almost like real life telepathy. So it's like, for example, there's bits of in the LLM code where it just sort of subconsciously knows things. For example, I typed in "Ashwood does the Human Crazy Straw on daytime talk show." Now, if anybody is familiar with the stunt that I invented or that I dubbed the Human Crazy Straw, you take a tube and shove it up your nose. Now, nowhere in that prompt did it say that, but in all of the clips generated, it just kind of knew to set the tube near my nose. And I wonder if now we're sort of feeding that. Like, let's say a current event happens, and then somebody wants to riff on it because it's as if, and one of the examples, one of the memes was MLK started off, I have a dream, but then started stuttering and stammering in exactly the way that Donald Trump sometimes will. And so it was not objectively a statement about Donald Trump or whatever, but everybody kind of got what the person was going for. And then that ended up riffing. I guess what I'm trying to get at is I wonder if instead of looking at this as the lowest fidelity communication, might it be interesting to think of it as possibly the highest fidelity communication, in that our subconsciousness are just expressing themselves, and this all sounds too hippie to even mind.
Well, it's sort of like a waking dream. You've removed that filter,
kind of
like a lucid dreaming sort of thing. I mean, you're just thinking it, and there it is, without
Well,
any.
It is a little bit like,
taking
is
Yeah,
id
go ahead.
better at communicating than superego is?
Okay.
Yeah, like if we're in a pitch meeting and somebody says words, everybody comes up with a different image. But when we're playing the same game on Sora, we all have exactly the same memory, which
Right.
that's fascinating to me.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
That shared dream analogy is a good one. I like that.
Oh, I'd push back on
but-
that though, because there are plenty of things that we view where we don't all have the same memory of it, or even more so, we don't have the same we don't have the same takeaways from it, or the same
Yeah.
interpretation. Like there are, especially in the world of like politics, where like an objective thing happens, but the takeaways for that objective thing are like night and day. I think there's still plenty of room for that. Like, I don't know that we are necessarily like in pure communication land here.
Well, at least in terms of our brains being synchronized with the same data, it seems like Sora, like Tom and I could both think of our devolving mech battle into puppeteering, and I'm going to bet that the images that we summon are closer than if we had just been describing it to each other in the same room, which is that would have been closer than if we had both read the same tweets, et cetera, et cetera.
But there was also an element of surprise, right? And that's what actually started our back and forth was you had remixed a mecha battle fight and it looked great. And I said, make the next scene epic. I can't remember. Was yours like a mecha church appears and you're like, have this other mecha thing appear?
Yeah,
I think that was yours,
I
right?
think I very deliberately didn't do any details because it seems like LLMs like guidelines, not boundaries. So I didn't describe what I wanted to appear. I said a worthy nemesis appears.
A worthy nemesis.
And it
That's
was
right.
Like a much
and then
less interesting mech showed up, and then
and then I said, make the next scene epic, and it just made them close to each other and kind of like teeter-totter around each other. And then that was a comment from Brian that said, "Well, you tried." Yeah, here I've got it. This is it. This is the epic. Like,
the epic battle, because it did. It started off very cinematic, and then it became like an animation for like Warcraft.
Oh yeah, this is definitely a cut scene from 1999.
And then this is Brian's. The battle continues, but looks more and more cheap and puppet-like.
Which at that point it got good again. I was
I actually got better at it, right? And then mine was in the next scene. The production has clearly run out of money. And then it was the actors take off their costumes and talk about what's next for them, and then they go for coffee.
but this all, so Brett, to your jib jab comment, like this experience feels more than a jib jab, right? So
yeah,
it's
no,
like
that's collective storytelling. I can definitely get behind that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not communication in like, I have now precisely understood your message, but it is communication in that we're exchanging an idea and there's a little bit of stochastic, nonsense getting injected, which keeps it interesting, right? It's like, oh, that's not exactly what I was expecting, but let's go with it. That's fun. People who enjoy improv or are actually professionals at it are probably going to enjoy this more than people who are like very literal minded, like, but that's not what I wanted, right? And they'll just get stuck on that. So it's not for everybody. Also, the dreamlike thing, I totally agree with what you're saying, Brian, even if it did sound a little hippy dippy, but I don't know what the ceiling of utility and popularity is on that, right?
And in fact, I suspect that it will never break through to the mainstream because of that. I think just as there's a selection bias among, in a tribe of 150 people, you're only going to get 20 or 30 who are Burning Man-esque. This seems like a kind of a Burning Man's Twitter.
Yeah. Or an Imager or what's
Or
the other
Tumblr.
one? Yeah, Tumblr. There's another one I'm trying to think of. I can't remember now, but there's a lot of those where people just enjoy trading images, trading memes. There's an element of that to this too, of like, oh, I just want to see what people have created with this.
Kind of Vine vibes, where it's like it's very, very difficult to be super
deviant art. Thank you, Ryan. That's what I was trying to think of.
There you go.
But yeah, there's also, if you go into the main feed, there's also a lot of like sucking up to OpenAI. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Oh.
Yeah, well, keep in mind, there are certain societal structures that everyone can sniff out. Like if you're old enough, you've seen this land grab before, and like there are some people who have completely transactional descriptions underneath their names, like follow for follow or hire me for whatever, and they are in a land race to see how many followers they could get, because quite legitimately nobody knows if this is a thing or not. I hope some version of it is. I think it would be very neat if this kind of, I don't know, surreal way of communication became more popular. I don't know.
I mean,
yeah, that
then you also have
deal,
Justin
like,
Robert Young making tiny people on tiny giraffes race. After Andrew Main made regular sized giraffes, Justin was like, no, make the giraffes tiny.
No, tiny.
That's funny. I put Justin in a upside down in a closet in a Spirit Halloween bat costume and was very satisfied.
You know what? I hope this ends up being a appreciated thing, because out there, I think, I don't know, I picture like a workaday blue collar stiff who just wants to tell his wife that she's got it. And so rather than try to use dumb words like a word talking person, he just sends a little video of her, bench pressing the universe or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that was another one. Like I had a little conversation with Andrew yesterday because he was afraid of getting sick before a big thing that we have coming up on Monday. And so I just sent him a video of like someone coughing stars onto him and it powering him up. And like, it was just like, I don't have anything to say about it, but here, I acknowledge the situation you're in. Hope for the best.
Weirdly, think about this. AI is sort of synonymous with low effort, and yet taking the time to do that, like we all know it took all of 7 seconds, but it took 7 whole seconds for you to do that.
Right. It's something you wouldn't have spent a half hour on maybe, but since it only took 7 seconds, you did it, and it probably gave Andrew a laugh and a little bit of confidence. Not solving the entire problem, but every little bit helps,
even
right?
Hinting at a solution for a problem.
It's if nothing else, it just made him laugh.
In fact, possibly denying that there is a problem. Possibly saying that go ahead, get sick.
It is the definition of misinformation, Brett. Like, this will not work.
It's true.
I also noticed that the more that I've played around with it, the pickier I've gotten. Like at first I was just like, oh, it did a thing, let me post it. Right. I'm experimenting. I'm posting all my experiments. But I've got a lot more of them where I'm like, no, that I wanted to do this. Let me fix that. Right. And I think you're seeing that as that's how people explore the tool and realize its shortcomings and what it's good at and what it's not and how to make it do what you want.
So much of the value comes from for OpenAI specifically.
Well, and this is where I'm going to get dangerously close to calling AI art real art, is because right now, up until now, it's been a big deal to even press the generate button. So curation has not entered the picture. It's just been button press, publish. But the job of, Stephen King, as I'm fond of saying, goes to sleep and he dreams 3 to 5 terrible Stephen King stories. And he is the editor that says these don't get written. But then one comes along that's pretty good. And that's how art is created. So now we all get to hit the generate button and we get to be the curators who decide what makes the cut.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had a whole swath of my life where I was paid to be an artist, and I have nothing but respect for effort. But also to say that AI art is not art to me is the same as saying Steven Spielberg is not an artist.
Well, oh, what a great example, because dude didn't touch a camera, didn't write a line, didn't act a wit. All he did was kind of be around the production and say, yeah, I take responsibility for this. And now that's what we do.
Yeah.
But I think the pushback on that would be, yes, but Spielberg has to be a master of a lot more. And there's a lot more effort that goes into being a director and managing people and managing a site than typing in a prompt and then going, actually, let me edit that prompt.
I absolutely agree, but that's not a distinction between art and not art. That's a distinction between good art and bad art. Like, that is someone who has put the effort in to have a superior product at the end versus someone who has not put the effort in and has an inferior product. But they're doing the same thing. You just are saying, like, and this is very true, that there is a lot of awful AI art. But to say it's not occasionally art is like, it's denying that taste is part of art.
It reminds me of the argument about whether Formula One or IndyCar or NASCAR are a sport, right? Is racing a sport? Because people think, well, sport means I use my muscles to push things around. And racing doesn't do that. You quote unquote just sit there, which gets racing fans really upset when you say that, of course. But the racing fans push back and like, yes, but there's a lot to it. It is physically demanding to sit there in a car that goes that fast. It is physically demanding to steer, and it is mentally demanding to plan, and it is demanding to figure out, like, when should I speed up? When should I slow down? That is a sport, even if it's a different sport in a lot of ways from weightlifting or tennis or, something else. I wonder if there's an analogy there where, anybody can write a prompt, but to have something at the end that is worthwhile and good, you have to have a different set of skills than Steven Spielberg does as a director, but they're similar.
Yeah.
Also in the chat, GPEG84 says there's no process or effort. Try telling that to Brian, who just wants the right number of fingers on one particular image or video.
Yeah, but that immediately brings up, like, see, the tool is broken. It's not good, right? Like, it can't even get fingers right. I think just to improve your argument, I would say you've probably done just as much to get it, put a person in the right place or say the thing you want it to say, which I also think people will say, like, well, but I could do that the old way perfectly. I didn't have to try to trick it. These tools aren't good.
Yet. Always add the word yet.
Yeah,
exactly. I was thinking that, remember the Next Generation episode, Darmok and Tanagra, whatever. That race would love this, because then they could really express themselves visually rather than just doing these word metaphors. They could just say, here's Darmok and Talad when the walls fell. They could really show.
Well,
Darmok and Jalad.
If we want to go really down that rabbit hole, imagine this. Imagine the disconnect between Gen Z and the Boomer generation, and imagine a meme making the rounds on Sora and Gen Z, and with an easy push of a button, it gets translated into cultural references that will resonate with the Boomer generation. Like, literally, AI can bring together entire generations.
Take the same music meme, and in one generation it's the Beatles, someone else is Big Bad Bunny, someone else is Taylor Swift, but it's the same meme. Yeah, interesting.
I do like the way it tattles on itself with particular references. Like, for example, if I were to say Digital Underground shows up on Johnny Carson, it'd be like, nope, that's copyrighted. But if I say Humpty Hump is the fictional character that sings the Humpty dance. Okay. And he's barely mentioned in the song. And I'll be danged if it didn't get something that approximated the Humpty Humpness, complete with some of the training music samples that are in there.
I just asked ChatGPT to only answer in Tamarian and asked it who won the World Series in 1982, and it responded, Milwaukee, their hearts open. St. Louis, the mountain stood.
That's great.
Would you like to ask a question?
What is similar to Sora?
In Temarian, the child, his kite rising, dreamers, their visions shared.
I'll tell you what, that's not bad.
Wow.
That's not bad.
Pretty funny.
And it
That
actually
is-
gets across the idea in some ways better than, I don't know. Brett, do you have a
Yeah.
question?
What is the first law of thermodynamics?
Law of thermo.
Wait, what is the first law? Oh, in motion stays in motion.
There's emotion.
Third is entropy.
The fire burning, yet unbroken. The river flowing, yet the water the same.
yeah.
Okay.
Eh. Not,
I'm
not,
beginning to
not
think that
as
this
good.
is not the most effective language for science.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Craig, do you want to try one before I?
Oh, let me see here. How would you describe? Oh, this probably be copyright violation. How would you well, let's see. How would you describe Edgar Allan Poe's The Pit and the Pendulum?
The pit and the pendulum.
It literally just says the pit and the pendulum.
The prisoner, his eyes wide. The pendulum, its shadow long. Shaka, the walls closing. Hope, the candles faint.
Okay.
You know what? I don't hate it. I went back
Uh,
and
that
I
one's not
rewatched
bad,
Darmok
yeah.
pretty recently, and outside of the obvious misstep of the two of them could have, pantomimed what things meant right at the beginning.
Sure.
But it is unbelievably prescient about meme culture 30 years ahead of time. And I believe it was a spec script that was run because of a writer's strike.
Yeah. GPEG asked if you can prompt in a language other than English. Yes, I put in the lyrics to the song Mic Drop, which are in Korean, and it output my wife rapping in English.
You want to really blow your mind, Tom? Try typing with all the keys shifted to the right, and it'll still understand it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I saw Andrew Main did a prompt that was just emojis, and it did it. It was like, yep, okay, you want a meteor to come down and hit the planet, buildings, got it. Yeah.
That's brilliant. I love watching everybody poking at the edges of a system in real time.
Yeah, I like that kind of stuff too. I think that is one of the divisions about whether people enjoy this sort of thing or not is how much you enjoy that.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I enjoy it very
so
much.
when I saw this from Andrew, I was like, oh, he did a cinematic of a apocalypse, and then I saw the prompt: telescope, meteor, skyline. I guess that's a burning meteor and fire. I was like, oh, that's kind of genius. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one where I believe the entire prompt was just the emoji.
It was and it just took it from there. Yeah. So I had an interaction with someone I know well that I tried to protect their identity, who told me I just gave an earful to my spouse about how AI has no place in creativity. And this is a person who is very intelligent and thinks a lot about this stuff. So this wasn't just a knee-jerk, like, I don't like this newfangled thing. And I think there's a lot of people who are in that space where they think this is not worth it. This is infringing on copyrights to be created, taking jobs from people who might otherwise have jobs, enriching billionaires who don't need to be enriched, and using up resources that are scarce. Those I think are four of the most common criticisms of this kind of tool.
At least one of those, it's really fascinating to, I am of the opinion that all of the copyright infringement wiggles are going to get worked out, whether in the courts or in cultural norms, mainly because I got a front row seat to see that happen in the world of magic, because all magicians agree that certain tricks don't belong to any living magician and we're fair game. And then every magician agrees that if a magician puts out a new trick with a red deck and then you come out with the blue deck, that doesn't mean you get to turn around and rip it off and call it your trick because you changed one thing. But really, in that middle ground, 20 years ago, they hadn't even been having discussions about who inherits the commons and what can you trade upon and what does intellectual property look like in the age of self-enforcement. And I suspect we're going to go through that because I do believe there's a place for remix culture. We watched this in my timeline. It was the late 80s when around the same time you could have the Beastie Boys where they didn't play a single instrument the entire album long, or you could have Vanilla Ice just clearly rapping over Under Pressure. And it's like, where is the slider bar on sample culture? Which one is art and which one is not?
Yeah. It has been kind of surprising to me that in the course of my career over the past 30 years, that we have gone from we the people need to fight the big organizations who are trying to use copyright to stop us from expressing ourselves, to we the people need to use copyright to protect ourselves. And I don't, if I were more conspiracy minded, I would suspect that it was done on purpose, but I think it is a natural thing where the pushback of organizations was just naturally to try to get people to understand the importance of copyright in a way that then trained an entire generation to be like, well, then you can't take my thing either. And no one should take my thing. And this is my thing. And so I look at the training data stuff, and to me, it is clear as day that if you know how these machines work, that they are transformative in the, which is a fair use defense, in the most fundamental way. They do not copy my book and put it in the LLM's database. They look at my book and say, well, these words seem to come close to these words more often. And that's going to change the weight we have in our model about when these words, and I'm saying words, and I know it's tokens, but it's just easier for people to visualize that. But it's changing a database to say, and actually when you change it to tokens, it makes the fair use argument even stronger. It's not even the content. It's these values and these values should go together. And then when we put them out, it'll create something new that has values next to values. Now, can you occasionally, as often as these things can generate things, make a copy by accident? Sure. Can you do it on purpose because you know how the prompts work? Yes, most of the time, but it's not how they work. So to me, current copyright law does not contemplate this kind of system, and therefore I think most judges would find it's a fair use. That said, the law should be based on what people generally think should be the law. That's how laws arise. If you go back into John Stuart Mill and everything. So if everyone says, yeah, but I don't like a company taking my creative work and training off it without me saying it's okay, or without me getting paid, or without me having control over it. And if that's the case, maybe that needs to be the law, is that, if you want training data, you have to get permission. That permission can be given freely, it can be paid, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But this is different than other kinds of copying that we have allowed in the past.
I don't love that it's going to be settled in the courts, but I suspect we'll end up with some kind of version of like an automatic license that already exists. In
like
the
a
music
mechanical
industry.
license like they have for songwriting or something. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, also, if we had more reasonable copyright laws, if they weren't 95 years plus the life of the author, this wouldn't be as big of a deal because there'd be plenty of data in the public domain that would not be a problem.
Yeah.
But I don't see anyone making a big push to change that yet. So, yeah.
The only thing I would push back on all that is the assumption that the judge would argue that is fair use. Like, I don't know that I trust judges to understand technology.
Well, the judge wouldn't argue it. The judge would say, have an expert explain LLMs to me.
Then now we're in a Sora video.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
But the way it should work is that I, the person defending my fair use, have an expert come up and explain to the judge, this is how large language models work. And then the judge says, now I get what you're saying. That seems transformative to me. I will grant your fair use defense. You're right. That might not always happen that way.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I just would say that it has not historically happened that way. Like judges are quick to fall back on analogies that they understand.
Yeah.
And like that has been the norm with every new technology we've seen in the last 10 or 15 years.
And then it becomes a battle of who's got the better lawyer which lawyer is better at making analogies, right?
Or like which plaintiff is deep pocketed enough to keep fighting the fight.
Yeah. Which would argue for fair use, which would argue for we need the law to change.
You know what's interesting is it just occurred to me that part of the pickle of copyright law has been over the last 30 years that it was possible for the first time to make an exact perfect replica while the original still stood there. Whereas everything we're dealing with now, it cannot because the remix it's like ideologically lossy compression. Where it's like, let's say you wanted to recreate some of the source material from the LLM. You couldn't do it. I tried to describe Humpty Hump, and somewhere in there is that song, but it couldn't summon it. It had to do something Humpty Hump-like or ish. And so I wonder how that will affect the rulings.
Yeah, and the other thing I think we discount is public pressure is often more effective than law. When you look at my drafts on Sora and you see all these like that content might violate guardrails. Well, some of it's third-party content. Some of it's suggestive or racy. That's not illegal. That's just something OpenAI is like, yeah, we don't want that kind of thing out here. And then people see it and then come and put pressure on us. And so we're just not going to allow it. And a lot of the third-party likeness content might even be entirely legal, but OpenAI is like, let's just set a boundary that tries to keep as much of that from happening so we have fewer infringing instances. Especially because the infringing instances that are getting through are being made hay of on all the articles about this, where they say, look at all the SpongeBob stuff, look at all the Nintendo stuff that's getting through. It's just a field full of copyright infringement. When I can tell you, like, it's not that easy, but for whatever reason, some stuff does get through.
Mm-hmm.
I suspect Paramount may have authorized it because a lot of the stuff that gets through is Paramount. Star Trek, with SpongeBob.
I did notice that, boy, Nintendo's lawyers are not exactly fast on the trigger. There's a lot of cocaine.
And they're usually
in the Mushroom Kingdom.
Nintendo usually, like, if you
Disney.
just hint at anything, they're like, stop it right now. So what's that about? I'm very curious why that is going I don't know.
Often been fascinated with like where in the stack OpenAI actually checks for copyright. Like if you get one of the image models to create something, like I don't remember why I was doing this, but I was trying to get Mickey Mouse with a lightsaber out of it, and it would create Mickey Mouse with I was trying to get do Steamboat Willie with a lightsaber. I was like, okay, maybe there's like an edge case here.
Public domain.
It would do the whole thing. I would see it. If I was really fast, I could screenshot it. But then like towards the bottom, be like, nah, it's not good.
Yeah, there's a filter on it at the end that goes, nah, I see something that's in my list here. Yeah,
as opposed to like jumping the line and saying like, I'm not going to waste my compute on your shenanigans here.
It's a bit like that judge that said, I can't describe pornography, but I know it when I see it. It's as though the last thing it does is check a box. You're like, all right, let's take a look at what did I make?
Oh dear.
I don't think that's okay. Yeah. That might be why. Sorry, Craig.
The whole opt-out copyright thing they're doing with Sora, that just seems. I don't think copyright works that way. At least the Disneys of the world. No, it doesn't work that way.
I believe this is me on the outside trying to read some tea leaves. That feels to me like them being overly generous. Like imagine you are releasing Photoshop and then you went around to Hollywood agents and say, listen, Photoshop's going to make it possible for people to make memes. If you have talent that you don't want to be memed, we will personally add you to a do not meme list. And so it turns out that with Photoshop, there was only one customer, and that was the United States Mint. But I think it's extremely fair-minded for OpenAI to be proactive on that.
It's being cast as Sora, as OpenAI saying, well, if you don't want your stuff copyright violated, you got to come talk to us. When in fact, what's happening is they are going over. Daily Tech News Show is not something that I have talked to OpenAI about, but they stopped me from using it. So they have a filter in there. What they're saying is, if you want us to go the extra mile and make absolutely sure, we're doing our best to try to cover all the bases, but we can't humanly cover all the bases. So if you come to us and say to block it, then we'll add it. We'll make an extra effort. Again, from the outside, that is merely my interpretation of it. By the way, Sean Diddy Combs sentenced to more than 4 years in jail on prostitution-related charges. So says my Apple Watch.
I was about to say, did you find that out from Sora?
Yeah, I've got a video right here.
I fully expect to start getting my news that way.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing. I guess I missed that one when I talked about all the objections and the criticisms, is misinformation, right? And people saying, well, now, and that was another one of my friends' reactions is like, oh, great. Now my dad is going to believe everything he sees that was made on Sora. And Brian, you were kind of indicating to me when we were chatting yesterday, like you think it might have the opposite effect.
I would say ounce for ounce, there's nothing more pro-social than encouraging everyone to mess around with the tools of Sora, because once you've gone a few dances of trying to prompt and get exactly what you want, you have crossed that threshold. In scam school, I always thought of it as the moment where, instead of here's a trick, here's how it's done, the end, it's here's a trick, here's how it's done. And then I hand them the cards. And then that was when you could see the lights turn on and the real learning begin. And if it were up to me, my advice to anybody who you want to train in the world of security awareness training is have your team make deep fakes, have your team try to trick each other into clicking on links, have the stakes be low, because once it's the difference between considering yourself as prey and hypothesizing how a predator may get you versus remembering how you acted when you were role-playing as the predator.
Yeah. And it's harder to make something convincing out of this than you would think. Most current profiles, including the current and previous U.S. presidents, you can't make stuff with. You don't. I don't see it. Like, I'm sure there's a way, but it's very difficult to get it, and I don't see anybody making it. Public figures of the history, like Martin Luther King, JFK, Henry VIII, like, yeah, you can do that all day long. But it's very difficult to get this to make a current events thing.
That's true for Sora specifically, but there are plenty of like deep fakes out there that are very good deep fakes. And like Brian, I think that's long term a net good for society relative to where we are now. I don't have words for it, but I think of it like we all got written language at some point, and at some point we all had to decide like, oh, the words aren't literal. Like, we don't default assume that words are literal. We don't read a book and assume that there is actually a meteor coming for us. And yet with video, we do assume that it's default literal. And I think we need to like jump that fairly nominal chasm of like, no, video, the things that I see, I don't default believe. And we're not there yet, but we need to be already.
Yeah, this is where I recommend to everyone, again, if you haven't read it, read The Diamond Age by Neil Stephenson, because in a post-abundant economy, humans retreat to a rigid structure where your character and reputation are paramount. And I think we're headed back to that. I think that we're going to trust more over video evidence. We're going to trust somebody's sworn affidavits, which is something that has never happened in my lifetime until now.
Yeah, I think I feel like this is a lazy argument on my part, but I still think it works, which is we always think the new technology is going to make it harder to distinguish what's real, and it rarely does, because we go from, I always think about the first time I saw a 720p image, I was like, oh my gosh, it's like looking through a window. Like that resolution is so amazing. Like I don't believe I'm looking at a television right now. And within a year, I could tell when it was a television HD image, even when it got to 1080p, right, even when it got to 4K HDR. I was like, yeah, there's something about it that my human brain has picked up on that's like, yep, that's different. I'm not saying we won't get to a point someday where we can make stuff that is indistinguishable from reality. It's certainly possible, but that's a lot less likely than we'll be able to start seeing the edges. And that's the other benefit of participating in stuff like this and playing around with it is I am now seeing like, oh yeah, that looks good, but it's clearly got this one element that tips me off that it was generated.
Yeah, our brains are much better at nuance than we give them credit for. Like the fact that we can pull a face out of leaves in the wilderness is enough to say like, oh, we're built for this.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, I suspect that calorie for calorie, there's no more efficient engine than the human brain for that. Like however many calories it'll take to simulate all that, I think it's going to be very clumsy for a long time. And like a theme park ride that amazes us the first time we ride it, by the fifth time we're like, all right.
Yeah, what is it about this image that gives it away that it's generated to you guys? Is there anything, is it a resolution? Is it, what?
Well, and actually that actually gets to one of the core principles that I try to teach in security talks is you shouldn't be a lot of security awareness training focuses on the artifacts of various artificially intelligent generation, when what you should be looking at is internally, how is this making me feel and why? Like if somebody's rushing to get you to take an action, you should be feeling like this feels weird. Why?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the sort of looking at the motives behind it versus the veracity of the message itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Part of it's our lizard brain. We can just detect these things we're not aware of that we pick up on that let us know, but they're making it harder and harder for our lizard brain to really detect what's real and what isn't.
I think our brains adapt really fast, though. However, and this is something that has been proven over time, the older you are, the harder it is for your brain to adapt to that stuff. That's just a fact of life. And so you have to train yourself like, oh, when I was 20, I could look at a Photoshopped image and immediately tell it was Photoshopped. Now that I'm 60, I look at something and I'm like, maybe, or I catch myself like I wanted to believe so much that I started to ignore the triggers and the giveaways. And I think that is as much of an element of being aware. Like as soon as you get excited about how right the thing is, be suspicious. Like, wait, why am I so excited? Why does this make me so happy? Why do I feel suddenly like this is the right thing? Like, doesn't mean it isn't, but question it, I guess.
It's like when my 6-year-old assures me she brushed her teeth. I want to believe it so bad that I'm almost willing to
it will be
her.
So much easier to believe her and say, great, go to bed. Everybody wins. Right. Yeah. No, that's a really good example of that. Yeah. Because you're highly motivated to believe that she brushed her teeth. Oh man. Yeah. I don't know. I got a little depressed because I was having so much fun. Like, what can this thing do? Let me try this. Like, I can just think the craziest thing and then have it do it, and it'll do it. And sometimes it surprises me and does it really well, and sometimes it totally fails. And then I ran into a few people who were like, "This is awful. This is a sin." They didn't use that word, but that was kind of the implication.
But it does kind of speak to the flavor of it, right? It's like, it's the way people recoil from witchcraft or what they fear might be witchcraft.
Yeah.
And then you could get in the weeds explaining, well, no, a French drop, you do this and it just looks like the coin is vanishing. And it's like wizard talk. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, I think we underestimate just how many people were upset by the idea that the earth traveled around the sun, right? We look at it as like, oh, it was the church being repressive and they wanted control. And that's all true. But I think they had popular sentiment on their side, right? We underestimate public pressure. And when the public's on your side, the authoritarian regime can get away with a lot more. And no one wanted to believe that the earth wasn't at the center of the system, right?
And of course, nobody wants to say the real thing, which is that would make me unimportant. You don't want to say that. So instead, you have all of these very logical reasons why it must not be that.
Yeah. Right. And that's a lot of what's going on here is like, yeah, but if AI can do that, that makes me unimportant.
Exactly.
Right. And that's what people are afraid of.
A lot of these arguments, I mean, I tried my best to listen and be polite. And I know that we're all probably out there, somebody shaking their fist at all four of us right now, but there, all I hear with most of the complaints are a toddler screaming, "I'm afraid! I'm very afraid!"
But as soon as you describe
all
your
the food-
opponent as a toddler, how can they
Yeah,
possibly be upset with you, Brian?
Sorry.
I feel like all of this though points to how valuable it is to start your career at Disney. I feel like I learned how unimportant I was really quickly in life.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
is that what you tell kids? Start somewhere really important so that you don't feel important.
I'm not even saying that Disney's really important. I'm just saying they're really good at making you, the cog, feel not important.
Yeah. I
Tom,
think there's a
you're
lot of
100%
places
right.
like that.
I regret my toddler analogy. I shouldn't have said that.
No,
That's
no,
gonna
it's
bite me
okay.
in the butt.
I think the one thing I want to make clear to anybody who's made it this far in this conversation, who hates everything that all four of us have said, is that I am trying to keep my mind open to all the sides of this and be like, oh, maybe I have a blind spot. Maybe I'm being overly optimistic. Maybe I'm being overly pessimistic. So I like what I like the way Andrew Heaton phrases it, which is I'm wrong about 50% of what I believe. I just don't know which 50%. And so I'm always trying to figure it out.
Well, I like the phrase pessimist sounds smart and optimist die rich.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Boy, I like the way that one finished too.
Excellent.
Is there an MBTI for optimism? I don't think that's in there, is it? Yeah.
No, there should be though.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
The optimist pessimist scale should be in
Wow.
there. Do any of you know your MBTI?
I do. ENTP here. How about you guys?
ENTP. I am INFJ.
Yeah, that tracks.
I have to do that. I haven't done that.
I am sure mine has like migrated. I think that like
Yeah.
I only took it when I was like 22 probably.
Yeah, and they tend
it
to
was,
change over time for sure.
like ENTP, but I know my P is probably strayed towards J by now, if only because I'm tired of picking up socks.
Yeah,
Being
I
a
think-
parent
I think-
pushes you towards J. Is that what?
Yeah.
I think that after I lost my brother, I drifted a little. I used to be hard T, and now I'm more F these days.
Yeah, I can back you up on that. I have seen that. And if people are like, what are they talking about? This is the Myers-Briggs test. And specifically, T's are known for being very blunt and less empathetic. And F's are known as being overly feely and worried about emotions. And
I know when I took the test, I was all the way over on one side or the other. Like no question about where I was, except extrovert, introvert. And I was like one tick over on extrovert. And
yeah. You're
that
close
tracks
to the
hard.
middle.
Like
Yeah.
back in the Go Game days, I would flip the extrovert switch and I would put on my show and then I would go sit in the hotel room.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the best analogy I heard on that was Dr. Grant at Wizard Academy. He's out of the University of Texas. He's an expert in MBTI. And he, as an exercise, has everyone pull out a pen, sign their name. And then he has them take the pen, put it in the other hand, and then sign their name. And he say, you'll notice you were able to do it, but one did not come as naturally. It was taxing and it left you exhausted. And the results were not as good as you would have liked. That's all. We're talking right-handed, left-handed for a bunch of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you just train yourself to use one more than the other, and there is a natural tendency on top of that, right? Craig, do you have an MBTI? Do you ever play around with that?
I
stuff?
haven't done that. I'll have to go do that. See where I'm at. I'm probably going to be more towards F is the feeling.
Yeah,
Is that right? Yeah, I'll
there's
definitely
four
lean
of
toward
them,
that.
and the TF scale is the.
And I'll
third.
be on that probably just a tick to the right of the introvert extrovert.
It is pretty.
Just a torn introvert, but I also enjoy getting out. So
It is pretty fun once you kind of see the classic archetypes where you get to see them everywhere, like Kirk, Spock, McCoy,
Yeah.
Scotty,
Yeah.
right,
the
right,
founding
yeah.
fathers. And
Yeah, there's a very popular one that's considered fairly accurate. If you're not going to do the actual test, it's a good enough approximation. And at the end it'll tell you like, oh, the famous people that have this same type are fictional characters and all of that.
See where you stand, right?
Yeah.
I'll try that out.
Well, Craig, how did your Inktober inking go?
Well, here we go. Here's our crown wearing.
Yeah, it's a
frog,
good
and
looking
he's all-
frog.
He's all puckered up, ready for someone to come by and
Ready
there's a
for
very
someone to rescue.
skeptical
That's great. Good
fish
job,
here.
Greg.
Yeah,
Thanks, man.
that's
Appreciate
excellent.
it. Had fun stuff.
I have to jump, guys. This has been a treat, but I have another place to be that is actually the same place, but with a different
Yes,
screen
but with a
open.
different screen. Do you want to tell anyone anything before you get out of here?
I love you all more than you'll ever know. Even
Follow
those of
Amtrucker.
you whose name I've never learned. That's what
All
I
right,
want to
thanks,
tell you
Brett.
right now.
Thanks for hanging out,
all right.
man. It was really fun.
Yeah, anytime. Well, most anytime. I know
Nice to
I said
meet
that
you.
last week and it was not true, but most anytime.
Yeah, no, it was good. I'm glad you were able to make it. Come back anytime you want.
You bet. Bye, gang.
All right. See ya. Brian Brushwood, where should people go to stop being prey?
Head on over to Modern Rogue. I dropped get this. I just got demonetized because I warned people about a scam. The
What?
latest Modern Rogue episode was the blind spot. Did I tell you about this blind spot, Tom?
Yeah, I got to see it before you posted it.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
The hotel thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Take a look at it. Watch I think it's the hotel scam you can't see coming is what it's called.
Okay,
But
so they
over
didn't
on the
take it
Modern
down.
Rogue.
They just said advertisers don't want to be near that kind of thing. So,
Yeah, which is like a warning.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they probably have a lot of hotel advertisers. So
Could be.
could be. Craig, you've got your Mastodon up there, but is there anything else
Yeah,
you want
that's-
to let people know about?
No, I'd say usually where I hang out when I'm online. Also on Instagram at Son of a Sailor 42.
Okay.
And that's where I just post my Inktober drawings there. And other than that, I'm pretty much a lurker online. So,
All right. Son of a Sailor at mastodon.social. I'm Ace Detect, if you can spell it, wherever fine social medias are vended. Thanks for supporting us at patreon.com/DTNS. I'm Ace Detect on Sora, if you're on there too. And we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
see ya.